Welcome into the Saints Insider Podcast. Today is Wednesday, October the 29th. I'm Zach Ewing with Rod Walker, Luke Johnson, and Matthew Paris, our team covering the Saints. And we have a new quarterback to talk about, a new QB1, Tyler Shough, officially named a starter yesterday. There were reports that came out, then the team confirmed it. Going to get to go talk to Tyler for the first time as QB1 later today. And, Matt, we've been talking about this. When would the appropriate time be? And the Saints determined it's right now.
Yeah, I mean, this on paper is a tough matchup for him and them, and it is a tough matchup, but I don't think that matters as much as where the Saints are at this point of the season. They're 1-7. Spencer Rattler had regressed the last 2 weeks. Shough didn't light the world on fire in Sunday's game, but I think he gave them enough to feel confident with him going forward. And so they have to see what they have in their second-round rookie, and this is a big game for him, even though it's the first start. I'm interested to see how he does because the Rams have a heck of a pass rush.
It gives an air of freshness to the season, a 1-7 season.
For now.
For now. But you do get sort of the newness again of, okay, well, what does this guy have? And I think how he does changes the trajectory of this franchise.
Yeah, I mean, one way or another, right? Like we're going to get probably an answer on what they're going to do in April next year within these next couple months. If he goes out there and he plays well, and there's reason to think like hey, maybe we can win with this guy. Like I think you're in a really interesting position as a franchise. I don't think even in those circumstances, I don't think that necessarily like eliminates the chance of them taking a quarterback with their first round pick, but it does at least present some interesting options. Some of the better players in this draft are non-quarterbacks. If you feel like you have a guy you can build around, then I think you have a couple different ways you can go. But the important thing is to find out if he is that guy, and if he isn't, then we're looking at really, really, really interesting times next April.
What does he have to do, Rod? I mean, he can't just be Spencer Rattler. Hey, he's okay, and he's not the reason you're losing games. I think we need to see more than that from Shough. Is that how you feel?
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Because I think with Spencer, I mean, you saw, just a kind of average NFL quarterback, and I think he needs to be above average. And as far as the decision, I thought they would wait until the bye week, but I do understand why they went ahead and did it now. I mean, with Rattler had thrown six. I mean, he had 6 turnovers in 6 quarters. I mean, at that point, I think you have to make the switch, and you do need to see what you got in Tyler Shough. So, I think he needs to play well, though. I mean, he needs to take care of the ball. He needs to be able to get into the end zone, which is something Rattler kind of struggled with. They struggled in the red zone, and all of that's not on Rattler. I don't think. I mean, there were a lot of drops and a lot of other things that went wrong with this team, but I think you do need to see Tyler.
Tyler.
You need to see Tyler, get the ball to the end zone, just be able to, move the offense a little bit better than Spencer Rattler was able to.
I think it's like I don't know if he needs to be better than Rattler. I think he needs to show traits that he can be a high level quarterback.
That he can win some games.
Yeah, that you can develop him.
Yeah.
Right? Rattler developed. I don't know how much, it's probably not fair to say about Spencer Rattler because he's only a second-year player. I don't know how much more you're going to get out of him. I think there's more high-level trait potential there with Shough. And if they go 1-8 with him as the starting quarterback, but he does some really good things, you're like, we can build off that. Maybe that's enough. I don't know. It's like they're in such an interesting position. I don't think we've seen this from a lot of NFL teams.
I mean, I think the worst thing that could happen is they beat the Titans, the Jets, and the Panthers. They beat up on these bad teams. They convince themselves, Tyler Shough's our guy. And then it's not that.
Right.
You have to pay real close attention to how he's developing, to what he's actually doing,
right,
and whether the upside is there to, let's say, okay, they win some games. Now that you're not drafting the first or the second best quarterback in this class, you're drafting the third one. Is that third quarterback, whoever it is he better than Tyler Shough? That's kind of the question they're going to have to ask themselves, because that's the danger I think some teams can fall into. But this is a really pivotal stretch for Shough. You wouldn't normally say that about a rookie. You would give him time to develop, but because of the situation the Saints are, he has to show stuff right away, I think.
I think it's a pivotal stretch for the franchise itself. I mean, there's a lot going into this, which is kind of what you said leading into it. But.
Yeah, and we'll talk about the trade deadline upcoming also because that's part of this conversation. First, I want to let you know that the Saints Insider is brought to you by Bank Plus. From small business to big business, home loans to Bank Anywhere technology, Bank Plus is here for New Orleans. New deposit customers can reach out today to learn about incredible rate specials. Learn more at bankplus.net. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. I think it's also important to remember as we have this discussion, what you were just saying, Matt, he has to show something. But quarterbacks in general have their biggest leap between year one and year two. We saw it with Rattler this year. He was much better this year, I think, than he was last year. So I don't know if there's a set number of wins or a set number of touchdowns or anything like that. But like both of you made the point, he's just got to show that there's more there. He's got to show something with the possibility to kind of dream on.
Yeah, like I said, high level traits. Like, can you affect the game with your legs, which I think he can in the right scenario. Like, can you make the big time throws? Can you, like, is your processing good enough? Yeah, there are definitely going to be some games where it looks really rough, and I think that happens with a lot of rookie quarterbacks. Are there going to be games where you look like you can be a guy, like you can be somebody we really can build around? I think that to me is the bar. Like, I don't think you can go into this like, did he lead us to 4 wins in the back half of the year? You know, because it might be a game against the Titans where they run for 220 yards because the Titans' run defense sucks and Shough only has to complete 10 passes and they win a game. You know, like, he needs to show that like he has traits that can develop into like a high level quarterback. And if he doesn't show that, then like I think you have to be in the position where you're looking at quarterback in the first round next year. It's not fair, but it's the position the franchise is in right now.
And this is a low bar, but he has to show he can stay healthy too. I mean,
yeah,
right now going into the season, like the Louisville season is the outlier for him. Now, he has said, and I think rightfully so, that some of his past injuries have been more just like simple breaks or they're not
freak accident.
Yeah, not ligament stuff.
Yeah.
But shoot, ask Taysom Hill. These things kind of pile up eventually, and if you can't stay durable, then I think that'll make the Saints' decision a lot easier. But he has, like I said before, he just has a lot to prove going into the last 9 games here.
I was thinking, like, when I was driving in, like, the worst case scenario is if he tweaked something this Sunday, then you got to go back to Rattler.
Right.
And you still don't know what you got in Shough. And I don't know,
no doubt.
That's what you don't need.
Yeah.
To
That's the worst case. That's the reason why they're playing him, though.
Yeah.
Right? Which I think we'll get into. I mean, you're playing him because you have to see him.
Yeah.
And if he can't stay healthy, then I mean that's a completely different scenario. But the Saints had to put him in there at some point.
It won't be any. I mean, Sunday's going to be his. You look at the schedule. I mean, he might not play anybody better than what he's playing Sunday.
Yeah, at Tampa is the only other game against like a playoff team. I think unless I'm forgetting somebody. But you have at the Rams and at Tampa Bay, and outside of that, everybody they play is like.
Are the Falcons good? Nobody.
The Panthers are 4-4. Yeah, the Panthers are 4-4.
The Falcons and the Panthers on a week-to-week basis can be two completely different teams.
But outside of that, it's more bottom feeders, and so it is interesting. This is the timing. We talked about that a little bit. I do want to look at it in terms of Spencer Rattler because he took some strides this year. We talked about that. One of the big strides he took was that he stopped turning the ball over so much. Then that came back. Do you think the timing was always going to be around this window right here before or after the bye week, or did Spencer Rattler speed things up by starting to regress in that area?
I think he sped things up.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he could have. I think Rattler would have started against the Rams for sure, and I think he would have started against Carolina. I mean, and at that point, you got the bye week. You get Tyler Shough, an extra week basically get ready. So to me, I think that was the timeline. But I do think Spencer Rattler definitely sped it up these last 6 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, I do think there was a universe where Rattler was just started the whole season, but like he would have had to. Like, you can't continue going to him knowing that you have to get a look at Shough, knowing that you're going to have a top 5 draft pick. If they're 1-7 right now, there's no real reason to keep looking at him.
Oh, if they had come up with a play to beat Arizona, a play to beat San Francisco, and a play to beat New England, and they're
if they were 3-4,
right.
Yeah, it's a different story, but they're not. And you look at I think Kellen Moore was being honest when he said the reason he pulled Rattler wasn't necessarily because of the turnovers, which is like, it's part of it. But like, look at his last 18 drives. These are the Bears and Buccaneers games. 2 touchdowns, 1 field goal, 1 missed field goal. Both those field goal drives came on short fields after a turnover. 6 punts, 1 turnover on downs, 3 fumbles, 2 of which were Spencer Rattler losing control of the ball and 4 picks. It's 3 scores in 18 drives. Like, the offense as a whole was not really functional anymore. And part of it was the turnovers, but like, I think there was more. It was like that last drive that they had before they put Shough in the game. Not on Rattler per se, but they had a delay of game and 2 holding penalties on a 3-and-out. That stuff can't happen. So I do think that the offense as a whole was stepping back. Rattler contributing to that, and they need to see what they got in Tyler Shough. They got 9 games left, and you have 8 games with Rattler and 9 games with Shough. You get to see what both can do, and you get to put yourself in a position where you know what you're going to do next April.
Yeah, and there's a scenario where this could have happened even sooner if Rattler had regressed sooner.
Sure.
Like I actually think I do think his regression has a lot to do with it, because what he showed at the beginning of the season was, you always wondered what the ceiling was, but there were some promising traits there, particularly after the New England game, that he played really well then. And so you're like, oh, well, how can he build on this? And unfortunately for him, he did not build on it, and he had his 2 worst games, and now he's going back to the bench. The line for Spencer Rattler was always going to be very thin, no matter what they said, like in terms of his actual performance. If he started to slip just enough, then it opened the door because of who he had behind him. And I think Kellen Moore did a pretty good job of managing that, in the sense that, like, when they were losing games and he was playing well, he didn't entertain that conversation. But if they're losing games and he wasn't playing well, then why do you, like, what are they doing there? And so they realized that, and now it's Tyler Shough time.
Is Spencer Rattler done as a QB1 in the NFL? I mean, obviously injury, whatever, he could move in, but
I don't know. I think if Shough comes out and plays well enough to merit a longer look, right? I think the Saints would have to like entertain the idea of trading Rattler when his value is probably the highest. Like there could be a team out there that is like, he could be a bridge quarterback for us. I don't think his time as a starter is necessarily done, and but I think that it's still just like really, really hard to see him being a high level, like a top 10 quarterback. Like he could be a functional starting NFL quarterback, but like he'd have to be really in the right situation with the right play caller, right offense around him, that sort of stuff.
I think he definitely did enough to show that he belongs in the league. I mean, I think he'll stick around.
For sure.
Yeah.
What about for this season? Let's say Shough, he's not going to get benched for a bad game Sunday. I think expectations are pretty low, for one thing, against that Rams defense. We'll talk more about that on Friday. But let's say he turns the ball over 2 or 3 times each of the next 3 games, and the Saints' offense is not any better. Is there a scenario in which this is not a permanent move? Leaving injury aside. I mean, obviously, if there's an injury, that's another conversation. But is there a universe in which the Saints do have to go back to Rattler because of Shough's performance?
I think if Shough is just terrible and so bad that his confidence is like you can't keep this guy out there. I mean, I think there is that scenario, but he'd have to be really bad, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Kellen Moore said he doesn't want to flip flop.
Yeah,
but like,
I do. I mean, I think there's
it would have to be bad.
But
Yeah.
it would have to be like disaster.
Right.
Which, like, I mean, possible.
It's possible. Yeah.
Totally possible.
And I guess the fact of the matter is, if that happens, then you have your answer. Like, Tyler Shough's not the guy, and now we can go with Rattler and try to save some face and win a couple games down the stretch, knowing that we need it.
It is just a crazy scenario, though.
It is.
I mean, they have a young quarterback who played pretty well, who in most other instances like this, like Rattler would have just started the entire season. But like, because the Saints drafted Tyler Shough with the number 40 overall pick, because they are in line to have right now, if the season ended right now, they'd have the number 1 overall pick next year. Like all of that stuff, these different like variables are coming into play where they have to make a switch. You know, they have to. They have to see what he can do because they might have to take another quarterback next year. And this is just so unique. You just don't see that, like when mid-round picks surprise and they get starting jobs. Like a lot of times they play. Like Davis Mills played for the Houston Texans. I think he started for like 2 years there.
Right.
And Rattler probably played at a equivalent or better level than Davis Mills played at with the Texans, but he didn't have a second round pick waiting behind him that was drafted by a new regime. You know, it's a really, really fascinating scenario that you just don't see very often in the NFL.
That's why I don't think Spencer Rattler is probably going to get another chance, at least to be a team starter, because like what team is clamoring to give Davis Mills another shot or ring the bells?
I knew this was coming.
Sam
Go ahead.
Howell.
Sam Howell.
I was going to bring him up myself.
Or Bailey Zappi. Like, I actually think Spencer Rattler not being a first rounder really hurts him in this scenario because, like, I wrote about this the other day, that the year of the second chance quarterback, Daniel Jones, Mac Jones, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, all first rounders, all pretty high first rounders. Like, I would bet Anthony Richardson starts another game before Spencer Rattler does for somebody.
Just because someone is more willing to take a chance.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think someone will trade for Spencer Rattler if that's the way this goes. But they will trade for him to be their nice insurance backup rather than, okay, we're going to give this kid a chance. Maybe we'll let him compete, but I don't think a team is going to go into a training camp with saying, all right, let's see if we can get any more out of Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like Matt Flynn. Matt Flynn went into a season as a starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, and he had to beat out Russell Wilson, who was a third-round pick, and that obviously turned into Russell Wilson there. But like, it's happened in the past, and I think teams are maybe changing their tune. Even though all these examples he brought up are recent examples, like Anthony Richardson's been terrible when he's gotten onto the field.
Yes, yeah.
And on top of that, there's like the taking himself off the field for a play. Like NFL guys hate that stuff.
That's
I think
true.
NFL guys would look at what Rattler's done on film and be like, there's something there.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know who would be like in a situation where they're like, we want to see what he's got as a bridge option. Like that's just a hypothetical.
And you look at like Darnold. The only reason Darnold, maybe he would have gotten a chance at some point, but he got a chance to start again because J.J. McCarthy got hurt. And then it was Darnold, and then it was, oh, well, wait a minute. He's actually still got something here. He's figured something out. So, there's scenarios where you go someplace as a backup or an insurance policy, and then it just works out to where you get another chance and get to show what you got.
Darnold's now on his fifth team. I mean, Geno Smith was on his third team when he ended up becoming a guy. And that was another injury-related thing where he showed what he could do when Russ got hurt. I mean, there's a lot of different variables that go into it, but like I don't think the book is completely closed on Spencer Rattler, even though maybe it is here.
Right. I mean, I don't think it's closed on him potentially becoming a good quarterback. Like I think he has the talent to do so. I just think teams are generally not going to go out on a limb to try and rescue that guy's career. Like he'd have to kind of be in that Darnold situation.
I could see that. He's a guy who, hey, you're going to start the first 6 weeks while we bring our draft pick along. And then, it will sound familiar to Spencer Rattler, but then sometimes that turns into more like it did for Darnold.
But see, like, I don't even think, like, I don't think like him serving as the bridge for the rookie is more of a viable option. I think it would have to be you go into him with a number 2 and then
the guy gets hurt.
And then he seizes the job that way.
Okay, so that kind of closes the book on Spencer Rattler for now. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about what to expect, what to watch for from Tyler Shough, and also changes that may be happening around him with the trade deadline right after this on the Saints Insider.
Banking has come to a crossroads. Do you want to bank with an actual bank, with actual people? One that you can walk into? Or drive through, get real help from a real person? Or do you want a bank that lives inside your phone? A digital bank that gives you control of your money anywhere, anytime. Well, why not both? Bank Plus, a partner in your corner, wherever that may be.
Today on asked you to do the commercial too.
Yeah, but they just gave me one line.
Bet like a Caesar. Like, we're gonna sit here and we're gonna tell them how Caesar's Sportsbook is just so easy to use that you can watch and bet thousands of sports events, even some NFL games.
They'll probably show us betting on our favourite players and teams at all the Vegas hotspots too.
Like, we have time for that montage.
I told him I couldn't do it.
They couldn't afford me.
And welcome back to the Saints Insider Podcast. We're talking Tyler Shough here. Encourage you to subscribe to the Saints Insider on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Leave us a review, hit the like button, leave a comment. Let us know what you think your expectations are for Tyler Shough. All right, we'll talk more specifically about the Rams in Friday's episode, but just in general, guys, what do you expect from Tyler Shough? Will this offense change at all with him under center? And what should reasonable expectations be?
I mean, I don't think it'll change much. I think even though him and Spencer are different players physically, I think their skill sets are kind of similar. Spencer's maybe like a little bit more elusive in the pocket, a little bit more of a kind of natural creator. But I do think if there's like some schemed up stuff to put Shough on the move, like he's a really good runner. A lot of their strengths as passers are very similar. Both got big arms, are able to throw those like kind of deep outside breaking throws. So I don't think too much will change offensively. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what they do against the Rams. Like the Rams secondary is gettable, but like their front is really sick. Byron Young has 9 sacks. I think he's number 3 in the league in sacks. Jared Verse is obviously super talented, really good rusher in his own right. He's got 4 sacks. Rams are coming off a bye, and they're still number 2 in the NFL in sacks, with 26. That's like 4 a game. So that's going to be the big thing this week. Like Shough we've seen him when he's at his worst. He's getting pressure in his face, and the Rams are really, really, really good at bringing that.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm most interested to see with Tyler Shough over the next 9 games. It starts with this one: is how does he handle an NFL pocket? Because I think that was kind of the barrier to entry for maybe why, like a lot of one of all the reasons he didn't win the starting job. That was kind of maybe the most pressing one. Is he was just a tad too slow. He got faster as camp went along, but Spencer Rattler was ahead of him in that area. And how much time has he been working on it with the practice or with the scout team? Can you get better at that if you're not in real life action? And it's just going to be really fascinating because the Rams, the worst that this offensive line has looked this season has not been in any game. It was in that one single joint practice where the Rams just crushed them over and over, and it was a tough day for that line. And I kind of think the same thing. It might happen again Sunday.
I do like. It was interesting to see like how decisive he was in this last game, though. I mean, he was getting the ball out fast. His time to throw was like 2.48 seconds. It was the 3rd fastest across the NFL according to Next Gen Stats this week. So I think that will probably have to continue this week against the Rams. And even some of his that quick time to throw was even on some of his deep shots. That one he just barely overthrew to Shaheed. That was a 6-man pressure with Antoine Winfield coming in on a safety blitz, and he got the ball out quick and to the right guy. It was just a little bit overthrown. But the fact that it was even close, I mean, Shaheed was 6 yards into his route when he let that go, and it was like a deep shot downfield. So. I think that was enough to me to say that has grown in that department. But I mean, we'll have to see when a team is able to scheme with the understanding that he's going to be in the game, with the understanding that it's going to be 0-0 and they're not going to be playing a no big plays defense. Be really fascinating to see how that unfolds.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago I was saying, man, you don't want to feed him to Dennis Allen's defense, and now here we are feeding him to the Rams defense.
Which is interesting. The next game is Carolina, which has one of the worst pass rushes in the NFL. So you're going to go from one extreme to the other. But I thought Matt raised an interesting point, Rod, and that is we did, like, the first 2 weeks of camp, it was like, man, Rattler's way ahead. This is not even going to be close. And I think to Shough's credit, he did make up some ground, right, over the month of training camp and the preseason. He didn't ultimately catch Rattler, but I do wonder if some of that growth has continued. And to Luke's point, he's getting the ball out a little bit faster and making more decisive action in the pocket than he was in camp. We could potentially see some growth here.
Yeah, we could. I mean, that's one thing Kellen Moore always talked about was, just developing him. And, we don't get to see any of that stuff in practice. Like, we don't know how much he has developed other than what we saw Sunday. So, this week we'll get a better gauge of how much better he's gotten.
The other part of this, too, is Kellen Moore is in his rookie year as a head coach, and he's 1-7, and things have not gone well. This was his dude. This was the guy he wanted in the draft. I mean, I'm sure that there were other decision makers involved, but ultimately they decided not to go up and go after a Jackson Dart. They didn't want Shedeur Sanders. They didn't want any of these other guys. Dart was the guy they wanted. And so this, you don't want to jump to conclusions, but it's
Shough was the guy they wanted.
Dart.
I'm sorry, Shough was the guy they wanted. It's a little bit of a referendum on Kellen Moore, too, I think, how he does the rest of the year.
Yeah. I guess I think people kind of understand it's not a first rounder, that there's not like that, like those great expectations. Like, I don't know, Will Levis. It's like kind of more in that feel for me. But I do think there is, like, it'll be a test of what Kellen Moore can do as a head coach. How does he help a rookie and go about this offense? Like, that's something Kellen even said after last game, is that feels like he has to do a better job of helping the offense and putting them in position where it's not just, okay, I'm changing the quarterback and hoping that's the end all be all. I mean, Taysom Hill played 5 snaps on Sunday. Like,
so you're
put
saying
him in.
Kellen should call the good plays for Tyler Shough.
Right, yeah. It's oh, God, yeah. I forgot about that. No, it's just like there are things that I think he can do. I mean, I think as his offense, like over the last half of the season, I think it'll get a little bit more aggressive. I think that was kind of some of the differences we saw in camp between Rattler and Shough, is Shough had more of a willingness to rip it down the field. I also think that maybe comes with a little bit of inexperience on Shough's part of trying to let it fly because he doesn't know any better. Like, I feel like that was maybe some of the growth that Rattler showed from year 1 to year 2, but because he knows, what's the saying? He doesn't know what he knows or whatever.
Doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Yeah. And so, like, you're just going to let it fly a little bit more, and I think the Saints will be a little bit more aggressive on offense, and whether that's actually better for their efficiency, I don't know. We'll see.
All right, let's pivot and talk trade market. There have been a few rumors. We talked last week about this. You said there was 10 guys who were listed as possible trade targets.
Now 11 with Cesar Ruiz.
National media.
Today.
Cesar Ruiz added to that list.
Trevor Penning, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where are you reading that?
Connor Orr with Sports Illustrated.
I mean, so there's 6 days before the trade deadline. It's Tuesday afternoon. There's a lot of guys who could move. My question is who is legitimately, like, you guys are looking at as he's more likely to be gone than not? Is there anybody in that column that you would put? Rashid Shaheed had Adam Schefter mentioned this week, which always gets a lot of attention, that he could be a guy. He's going to be a free agent, which always also adds to trade rumors. So is Shaheed that guy for you? Do you see another name that maybe is more likely to be traded, or will the Saints just be more quiet?
I mean, I think for me it starts with the receivers. I think those are their most like high value assets, even more so than somebody like Alvin Kamara, who's making a lot of money. He's on the wrong side of 30 and hasn't been super productive this year. I think the receivers are the ones who will probably generate the most interest, could get the most in return. So I don't think they'd trade both of them.
I don't know.
I think they would trade if they did make a move. It'd be one, and I think Mickey has always been the kind of person who's, his philosophy is like, we don't trade good players, but like they're gonna listen if the return is right. So I don't know what would be the right return for those guys. They could probably get more for Olave than Shaheed, but like I don't know, if you get a fourth for Shaheed, do you do it? If you get a third for him, do you do it? I don't know. What's he going to sign in free agency next year if he walks? Like, are you going to get that comparable value back in a comp pick. I don't know, but I do think the receivers are probably the ones to watch closely over the next week.
And I put Brandon Cooks in there as well. We didn't really mention him, but because they still got Trey Palmer and Jalen Polk. I mean, we don't know how good they're going to be, but they're kind of waiting in the wings.
Von Vele also.
Yes, I think
definitely
the depth that receiver kind of makes you say, hey, somebody's got to go.
It definitely felt like they were bracing for the possibility of trading one of these guys by
bringing both.
Trading for Vele, by claiming Trey Palmer, by trading for Jalen Polk. It doesn't feel like all of those guys are going to be on the team next year. So it's either they're bracing for the possibility of trading one or losing one in free agency.
You agree with that, Matt? The receiver most likely?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it'd be a home run if they could move like Pete Werner just to clear up playing time for Danny Stutzman, but I don't know what team is actually willing to give up assets and what the Saints would be willing to take. There's not a lot of off-ball linebacker trades in the NFL these days. So
the one team that kind of stands out to me with that is San Francisco.
Yeah,
because they're good. They're going to be getting their quarterback back soon. Fred Warner's obviously out for the year. That would be the one team to watch out for Pete or frankly for DeMario.
Yeah, I think DeMario makes a lot more sense for them.
Yeah, right.
Rather than Pete, just so you could have that veteran that run the show for him. But then it's where does DeMario stand with all this? Is he open to going to try and chase a ring? Does he want to stay in New Orleans? Is Alvin the exception for how he feels about the Saints or his franchise of not wanting to move? Or
I think DeMario. I put DeMario in that category too, just because where he is in his career. I don't think he's a ring chaser either at this point. I mean, there was a point when Breeze was here when he thought he could get it, but I don't think he's.
It'd be kind of fun to watch him do it.
It would be.
Playing playoff games and stuff. I'm not trying to push him out the door, but
sure.
DeMario would be a really interesting one.
But
I certainly don't think he wants to be traded, even if the Saints are in this really bad situation as a football team. But the community is really important to him. This is very close to where he's from in Mississippi. But he'd probably have more fun on Sundays.
Yeah.
But if he's ready to shut it down and this is his last year, maybe he'll say, you know what, let's swing for it.
So the other position group would be the O-line, and we'll use this to sort of transition into our final topic, which is going to be how do these trades affect Tyler Shough? Let's bring these two conversations together, because if you do trade a Rashid Shaheed or a Chris Olave or a Trevor Penning or a Cesar Ruiz or whoever, you are affecting the team that is around Tyler Shough. And of course, all offseason we heard the discourse that we didn't really get a fair look at Rattler because he was playing with backups. I mean, you trade enough guys, you are going, and of course there will be an injury or two as well, you are going to create the same situation for Tyler Shough.
Yeah, I think you can afford to part with one of the receivers because you did trade for Vele. He's still your young. Now he hasn't had a whole lot of production, but they haven't featured him a lot as well. You need to see what you have in him. And so I think if they did trade Rashid Shaheed, it would, and Chris Olave would still be here. I agree with Luke. You can't trade both unless the returns both phenomenal, but I just don't think, I don't think Dale Benson is the type of owner to be we need as much as we can. Let's sell the assets.
Sell.
You want to hit the bell here, I'm going to bring up a...
Oh, man, you can't help yourself, buddy.
I can't. So, I wasn't even covering the team in this, when these trades
Does that
were
even
made.
get a bell then?
Well, I covered
He did
both
say
the players.
Washington. He did say Washington.
So, in 23, I'm pretty sure that the Commanders did not want to trade Montez Sweat in addition to Chase Young. But they traded Chase Young for conditional third to San Francisco. And then they traded Sweat because they got a second-round pick. And so that's the scenario where, all right, we're trading Shaheed for a third. Oh, shoot, here's a team calling about Olave offering a second. Do you do that? Is that better? But I also I think that would legitimately hurt your chances of evaluating Shough. But you might also have to do it because you could still be better off as a franchise, even if you don't get a full evaluation of Shough and you're drafting a quarterback next year anyway, and then you have these assets to surround your new quarterback with. It still could be better in the long run for them, even if It's not fair to Shough.
I agree with that. I think there's a sliding scale of what you're getting in return for these guys. And it's, I mean, obviously, if hey, we're going to give you a first rounder, okay, I don't care who we're giving up, then I'm taking it. So there is a point where they would take it. Where that point starts and ends is what we don't know.
And I do think that I think Mickey would probably want a pretty significant assets back. Like he has a reputation for somebody who gives up too much in trades, but like the return he got for Lattimore last year was really, really good.
But he's been in the situation where he's been chasing.
Correct.
You know, and so you are willing
Correct.
to overpay more, and that he's in a totally different situation.
Yeah, and I do think though that like he is going to ask for a lot in return for these guys. It would surprise me just as much if they traded like both Olave and Shaheed or kept both of them. You know, like I do think that they are going to want a pretty significant return because these guys. I mean, just being frank, they're both young players. I mean, Shaheed is going to be a free agent, but like you could theoretically bring him back on probably a contract that doesn't pay him a whole lot. Like he's not going to be a $25 million a year receiver. So, I mean, they could just decide like, you know what, like we're going to have these guys as part of our organization moving forward because we didn't get enough of an offer back in return.
How do you think the Vele trade factors in terms of the compensation of what they might want for? I think Olave's different, but Shaheed specifically, like if they get back a 4th and a 7th for Shaheed, which is basically what it is what they gave up for Vele. Like,
is that bad optics? Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Is it cool with that? Like, should that affect or does it affect?
People don't understand though that Vele is under team control for a lot longer
Right.
than Shaheed is, and that changes the value of the player. But I do think there'll be a little bit of blowback of, oh my God, you gave up the same thing for Vele that you got for Rashid Shaheed. How could you do that? But
I mean, there's an argument to be made. They could just get their 4th back from Denver for Shaheed. Because the Broncos need a receiver. Like, that's not the worst.
Yeah,
Rod, how do you feel?
it would be that would essentially be trading Shaheed for Vele straight up. That'd be funny.
That would be. Rod, how aggressive should they be, knowing that maybe they're affecting Tyler Shough's progress or at least their evaluation of his progress?
I think, this team is you got to look at. They need to be looking more long term right now than short term. I think you can evaluate Shough. I mean, if you don't have Rashid or Olave, I think you still can get a pretty decent evaluation of them, and you'll have an idea what you got. And again, like we said earlier, I mean, if he's not panning out and you have to get another quarterback, you have to do that. But I don't think one receiver affects that evaluation that much.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not going to be the situation that Rattler was in last year where he was throwing to
Mason Tipton
and like Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's now on like his 12th team. Like, it's just like that was a horror show last year. If you move one or even both of those guys, I think you still have like competent NFL players in the roster. You're not throwing to Kevin Austin. It's like no shade against Kevin Austin.
He's
There's
still
like,
here, by the way.
but you know what I'm saying? That like it's not
Or like a real
but like
sliding doors or like very close to. They're not going to be throwing to Tipton and Kevin Austin 2 weeks later.
What I'm saying is like they're not going to have those guys out there for like 90% of the snaps like they did last year.
Probably not. I mean, you add injuries to this, and maybe, but you can't.
But like still, it's a different set of circumstances if you trade one of those guys.
I would also say they're already starting from a disadvantage because Eric McCoy is hurt again. Like that was the thing that really doomed Rattler last season, and I think Luke Fortner is probably better depth than last year's situation, but man, it hurts not to have McCoy again, and that factors into Shough as well.
And I also think you can grade on a curve a little bit. I mean, as we did with Rattler last year, where we said, okay, he didn't have these things, but we question a lot of the way he performed anyway, and then he's improved, but some of that's been borne out this year as well. So it's not like it's impossible to look at the film and say Tyler Shough is playing well, but he's having receivers who aren't getting open, et cetera, or he's not getting time from his offensive line. I mean, you can grade on a curve. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's going to do it for our show today. We will be back Friday. We'll dig more into this kind of nightmarish matchup for the Saints against the LA Rams on Sunday, and talk more Tyler Shough, and by that point we'll have talked to him have a little more info about what he thinks and what Kellen Moore thinks, and we will join you then. So our producers today were Norman Bell and Molly Ballinger. He's Rod Walker, Luke Johnson, Matthew Paris. I'm Zach Ewing. Thank you for watching The Saints Insider.